Welcome to the Swirl Suite, everybody. We hope you are doing well. If you notice that our episode's a little scattered right now, it's because we have a lot going on, especially me. I have created a book. It's a Vine Me Up activity book that's pretty much based on wine and the creative people behind the wine, mostly people of color. It's in the editing phases, so I am constantly staring at drafts and back and forth. I'm self-publishing with a team, so I am sort of swamped right now. So sometimes the episodes will air bi-weekly and sometimes weekly, and sometimes they're going to air on different days, just for right now. Our episode today is very special. We brought back Dr. Nadeen White. Dr. Nadeen White has been practicing medicine for over 20 years while traveling all over the world. She calls herself blogger by day, physician by night. She's a travel blogger, content creator, best-selling author, speaker, just an overall travel inspirer. But what she's been known for lately is her expertise on the coronavirus. So when the pandemic first started, she wrote a blog post giving everybody a wealth of information and how to keep themselves safe. Well, that post went viral, and she was invited to speak on CNN and been featured here and there. And that's why we brought her back to talk a little bit about that. So here's our episode with Dr. Nadeen White. Cheers. Nadeen, we brought you back to the Swirl Suite because, girl, you have been popping everywhere. We have seen you on CNN.
It's been a busy year.
Absolutely. So tell us how you're doing. Oh, and please reintroduce yourself to everybody who doesn't know you.
Oh, yes. So I am Dr. Nadeen White. I call myself a travel blogger by day, physician by night. My blog is A Sophisticated Life. Normally, I cover travel, food, and wine, affordable luxury blog. And I'm usually traveling every month, every other month, all over the world, domestic, international travel. I like to explore food, culinary travel, and wine regions when traveling. But of course, with COVID for the past year, that kind of halted a lot of my travels. So as a physician, I have been covering the pandemic, traveling during the pandemic, COVID-19, the vaccinations for the past, I guess, a little over a year now. When this all first started, I was actually on a cruise at the end of January, early February. Yes. And my mother-in-law actually texted my husband and I, because there was the cruise ship at that time that was in Italy, that it ended up, that wasn't the cruise ship that had COVID. It was the one in Asia. But she was like, oh my gosh, are you on that cruise ship with this virus? And we were like, no, but let me look up what's going on with this virus. So long story short, I came back, I started doing some research about it, and I wrote a blog post and did a Facebook Live, just trying to educate people about what it was, because of course everybody was freaking out. That blog post went viral. I ended up on CNN speaking about the coronavirus and how it related to travel at the time. And if you look, I have a screenshot back then, and it was like 17 deaths. That's how many deaths were in the US at the time. It was March 7th that I was on CNN. And so, of course, after that, I think a week later, actually, everything shut down after I was on CNN. So from that, I've been doing, of course, a lot of webinars, podcasts, lectures about coronavirus, and then about the vaccines. And I traveled a little bit during the pandemic, did some road trips, some short flights. So just trying to educate people on how to stay safe while traveling. And so once the vaccines came out, I will admit I was reluctant at first myself. I remember putting up a poll in one of my local medical groups, and it was about 50-50 in terms of the physicians who thought that they would get it when it was available. And I, again, did my own research on it. And by the time it came out, I was ready. I was obviously, as a hospital physician, I was one of the first people that it was available to. And so I was ready, and I got it in this. I got the Pfizer vaccine, the first shot in December, the second one in January. And I again wrote another blog post about that, just kind of breaking down the vaccines and the studies, and got on social media again at that point, trying to explain to people what was going on with the vaccines, and that was actually a much tougher sell. That was a much tougher sell. I will admit I got beat up quite a bit, especially from the Black community and Black travel groups. I tried to do some webinars there, and it was really tough. But happy to say, I think we've turned the corner. Obviously, I think there was a lot of us that were just out there really trying to educate all over, even on Clubhouse. And I'm happy to say I think we're turning the corner with this pandemic, hopefully. And here we are. I've started traveling again. I'm excited to get back out there. Yay. And yeah, I feel like a big weight is starting to kind of fall off our shoulders, even at work for me, like I said, because I work in the hospital here in Atlanta. So yeah, so that's my story in the nutshell.
Wow.
Wow.
My goodness.
Wow. That's interesting. I pretty much had the same path to getting the vaccine as well. At first I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing that. And then, you think about it. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I did the research. I was like, it's mRNA. It's not messing with the mitochondria. I was like, I went through the whole, as a scientist. I was like, you know what? And I forgot where I was sitting. And I think I was either drinking Diet Dr. Pepper of all things, right? And I said, if I could sit here and drink this, it is right here. Literally, I said, get over it. At this point, exactly right. Quarter, I'll take my chances with the vaccine.
Right.
Right. And I went and got the Pfizer.
Excellent. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. I was just as skeptical. I just wanted to watch and see the side effects and everybody's reaction, because it seemed to be hitting people differently. Right. So that was the only reason why I waited so long, because I got mine in April. But but yeah, it was I didn't have many side effects at all. I was a little tired, but other than that,
me neither.
I was fine.
Yeah. And I understood that. I definitely understood people being skeptical. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, my husband went with me for the first one, and I was terrified. I'm 50. I'm not like a spring chicken, 25. I take medications for different ailments or whatever, and so my heart was racing. I was terrified. And again, this is December, so I only had like the studies to go on. It wasn't like millions of people had taken it.
Right.
And so, and it was at my work, at my, my job. So it was at the hospital, and the nurse kind of just left. And I said, wait, I'm supposed to wait for 15 minutes, right? To see if I have any reactions. And he's like, oh yeah. You're going to just sit there. He didn't even care. He was like, yeah, you can just sit there. So my husband and I sat there, and I just literally was like watching my phone, like, is anything going to happen? Is something going to happen to me? And he drove me there. Like, I was afraid to go by myself and drive myself home in case anything happened. But I was fine for the first and the second one. I didn't get anything. I didn't get fever. I had a little bit of arm soreness. My husband got the Moderna. Same thing with him for both vaccines. He got nothing. And we prepared. I took the second one, you're known to get more side effects. So we both had taken like the day off work for the second one. Neither one of us, two different, vaccines, and we were both fine. So but again, I tried to tell people, prepare, you just never know. But thank goodness we were fine. So I understood people being skeptical. I documented, and I think a lot of us that were early on were letting people know, because some people really did get sick. And so, it was important for people to kind of share their experiences early on. And so I think, again, the more people that got it all over the world, there's now millions and millions of people. We're standing, we're still alive.
Yeah.
People are not dropping like flies.
Yes, right. I think that just gave people more confidence about it.
Yeah.
So
And you're a mom too, right?
No, I'm not a mom. I have two stepkids.
Oh, okay.
And what was hilarious was they're both in college, and the older one got it like right after we did. And I was like, how
Oh,
did you
wow.
like it? I mean, like literally they were like ready. My husband, who hates shots, like he is, this year was the first year he got the flu shot. Like he's never even gotten the flu shot.
Me
And
neither.
he was
got the flu shot.
right.
Right. So that's why I was like, the hell with the vaccine. No, this is a little different.
Yeah, he was ready though. He was like, he was so afraid. He has his mom is elderly. She's 78. And so we go over there. And so he was more afraid of the disease than he was of what could happen with the shot. And that was it.
Yeah.
I think that was my I was like, I'd rather get the shot, have mild symptoms, than not get the shot and be put on a ventilator.
Right. There you go.
Coming off a slim, and then to be in the hospital by yourself because can't nobody come check to make sure nah, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead and hit me.
Yeah.
There you go.
So Nadeen, how do you feel about the kids getting the vaccine? So what is it? It's 12 and over right now, right?
Yes. So because I'm a pediatrician. So ages 12 and up can get the Pfizer vaccine. So that study was remarkable because even though it wasn't a large study, it was like less than 3,000 kids. But first of all, my colleagues that have kids, they were all trying to sign their kids up for that study. It was hilarious. Like they all wanted their kids in the study. And so that's how much physicians have confidence in these vaccines. And so first of all, we know that kids do not have as serious of a problem with the illness. So they don't get as sick, which is great. But they do get inflammatory disorder. They can get an inflammatory disorder after they get coronavirus. And we have seen that even in our population here in Atlanta. But in that study from ages 12 to 50, when they gave the Pfizer vaccine, none of the kids, zero of the kids that got the vaccine got coronavirus. Zero. The only cases of coronavirus were in the placebo group. I mean, it was like even more impressive than the studies in the adult population. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it was like unbelievable. So and they had minimal side effects. I mean, just like arm soreness, fever. Yeah. So for that, there's really no indication as to why you would not vaccinate kids, because we do know they can still be vectors of transmission. So for instance, if you have kids that live with grandparents, are around elderly people, or around people that are immunocompromised, weakened immune systems, they can still spread it to those people. So even though they themselves may not get seriously ill, unless those kids have asthma, obesity, they have serious illnesses and they can, get really sick if they get it. But even like the healthy 12 to 15-year-olds that you're like, oh, well, why would you give it to a healthy 12 to 15-year-old? Well, it's because they can still spread it and contribute to it being in the society and spread it to people. And just in general, the fact that I hear adults say that, well, I don't need to get it. I don't care if I get COVID. I'm not afraid of COVID. People in my family say that. And it's like, this is a communicable disease. The whole community has to deal with this. So you are going to be spreading it to other people that can die from it. Even if you do get it and live, you're going to spread it without knowing it. You're going to spread it before you even get symptoms from it. And you could spread it to your parent, your grandparent, somebody that can't fight it off. And it just drives me nuts that even today, people will still say stuff like that. So it's the same thing with kids. Kids can spread it to their teachers that have, asthma, lupus, diabetes, things like that. So I think that since the safety profile is so great with kids that have got that in the trial, I am all for it. And I think they're going to start trials, if they haven't already, for 8 to 12 and go down lower. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty impressive really so far, these trials.
I saw something pretty crazy. Like DC just opened up this past weekend, completely open now. And
they're late. Atlanta been open.
Oh, girl, but no, we've seen Atlanta. We know y'all been open, child.
Okay, you guys just opened? What?
We just opened. Our mayor was very, very cautious. Yeah, our mayor was very cautious about opening things back up.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, now they have like certain rules for different places where they have like a vaccinated section. Like, how are you going to be able to tell who gets vaccinated or not?
They have vaccinated sections?
I heard that, like, at sporting events and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's super
What if
weird.
you have to present your card?
I wonder with the vaccine passports and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like New York is trying that, like for events, you know, like for you to show it on the app. Yeah, I can see where that could be the case. I think a lot of times people are expecting people to do the honor system, you know, just like with masks. Like, okay, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. Well,
yeah.
I think the people who are anti-mask, they're gonna just not wear masks.
Right.
So I think, you know, the more, and I had been talking about this from before when I first wrote that vaccine article, was I could see the future of like these vaccine passports in the apps where you would have to download, you know, your card showing that you're vaccinated. Because I think for places like Broadway theaters, inside big venues, I just don't see how you could have that many people in one place in the inside. I mean, you guys have been at Broadway theater. I mean, it's like you're like sitting like this.
Yeah.
I don't see how you could have a situation like that, especially like say in the wintertime when you have all these, well, you know, you're more susceptible to having respiratory symptoms of coughing and colds and stuff like that. You have a place like that where say half those people are not vaccinated or could have COVID, especially since we have these strains that are still out that may not be, you may not be protected from with the vaccine. That's gonna be risky unless you can show some proof of vaccination. So unfortunately, I think it's, you know, people are saying, well, it's not fair because you're gonna have these two populations of vaccinated and unvaccinated. But I think if you want to partake in activities like that to protect the public, unfortunately, I think you're gonna have to show some proof of vaccination to partake in certain activities like that. If not, we would never be able to keep it under control.
Well, have you guys heard of, you even have to be careful now with your vaccine card because people are
faking
cards, or you know how people were posting on Facebook, they were vaccinated, and using other people's cards.
Isn't that awful?
So many people, I told so many people, take your card down or you know, black out certain parts of it. Just show the sticker. If you want to prove, just show the sticker, because
it's also too easy.
What do you call the people? Identity thieves. You had your name, your birthday.
Yes. Yeah, it's so easy to like duplicate those cards because even when I got mine, like I said, it was in December. I'm kind of mad. Ours weren't stickers. They were handwritten. And then my first vaccine, my first shot, the nurse made a mistake. So she like crossed it out.
Oh, girl.
Didn't even get a new card. And I didn't even think about it at the time because again, I was so nervous. I should have asked her to just start over a new card. But instead she just crossed it out and like put the lot, you know, like redid the lot number. So somebody looking at it may even like not even want to accept that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like crossed out. And so when I went for the second shot, I forgot my card. And they were like, oh, I mean, the people know me at work, but they were like, all right, they just wrote it down on a piece of paper. They're like, all right, when you get home, just put this on the card. But this was early on. I don't think anybody thought that people would be trying to like fake the cards, you know? But yeah, so there's no stickers. Mine doesn't even have stickers. It's just handwritten. Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, I wish there was a better way. I wish there was like, and I don't know, like if they sent all that stuff to somewhere in Georgia, like the state health department, so that there's some, and you know, like I wish there was some kind of way that there was some like real traceable record of all these shots. I don't know if my hospital did that. I don't know if state departments have that. You know, it's, you know, the honor system is not going to fly in the long run.
Yeah, my godmother, bless her heart, she sent me and my husband these vaccination like bracelets. So
I'm vaccinated.
We're vaccinated.
Yes. I love it. See, now if they did insert like people who really on Instagram, like I showed, my husband took a video of me getting my first shot.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly had people, when I posted that video on Instagram, ask me, like, they thought that they inserted something in my arm. Like, people really said it looked like, because the needle snaps back into the syringe.
Mm-hmm.
And people like said they watched it in slow motion and it looks like they left the needle in my arm. And so do I think they left the chip or the needle, like they left it in my arm. I said, come
They
on
think
now,
you've been implanted with something.
Yes. Like this one lady was like, I watched it in slow motion. They left it. I said, you don't think I'd be able to feel if something was left in my arm? But see, if they did, then I would know, like I could prove I was vaccinated. They could scan the chip.
That would have irritated me. That would have irritated me so bad.
That's the stuff I dealt with on social media. I just was like, ma'am, I don't know what to tell you. The needle pops back in the syringe. They did not leave it in my arm. But I had several people watch that video and say that to me. I said,
the level of ignorance is just astounding. It's just astounding.
I had to take social media breaks, honestly, in
Yeah, I'm
discussing
sure.
the vaccine. I really did. And, after it was harder to prove after the initial studies, because the initial studies only tested for symptomatic infection. So they gave the vaccines to the placebo group didn't get the vaccine, and then these people got the vaccine. And they checked people that developed symptoms, and then they checked to see if they had COVID or not. So, everybody was walking around saying, well, didn't check to see if you had COVID and you just didn't know it. Like those people that were walking around that didn't have symptoms could have still had COVID and could have still been spreading it. They just didn't know it. Right. True, because they didn't test for that. But logic would say, first of all, the way that it's spread is by coughing, sneezing, those kind of, having those kind of symptoms. So you would think if a person had no symptoms, they would be spreading it less. Okay. So, I had confidence in the vaccines, and I said, we're going to have real world studies now that people are getting it. So once the real world studies started coming in from the UK, Israel had the biggest real world studies. They were testing everybody that got the vaccines, to asymptomatic people, symptomatic people. Then the US did their own study of healthcare professionals in Texas who are at the highest risk, that got the vaccine. They checked people that had no symptoms, people that had symptoms, and they showed that there was decreased viral load, decreased viral shedding. People that were asymptomatic only had like 8 infections compared to like 70. And even that when you showed all this evidence to people, now that millions and millions of people that have had it, people were still not convinced. People were still like, well, you can still get it and spread it. I said, the numbers are like this big for people who are vaccinated that can get it and spread it, like with no symptoms, like this much compared to this much. I'm like, the numbers show it. And then now the fact that we're like open, that's even proving it. The fact that we're able to get back to like semi-normal lives and visit family and be around people in groups and not wear, that alone is proof that the vaccines are working, because we would never be able to do this if we weren't vaccinated. People would be spreading COVID and dropping dead, which is what was happening a year ago. And so we have the proof in real life now, and people still walk around saying, well, I'm not getting it. They don't work. They, you can still get it and spread it. And so I've almost given up. Like, if you can see all of this around the world and not see the difference in a year since, not even a year, since December.
Right.
Of us giving the vaccine, that I don't know what I can tell you to convince you at this point.
Yeah.
It warms my heart when I see people that are seeing their parents after, a year.
Yeah.
People got to graduate. I have a friend who her son came back and got to graduate because he didn't have a graduation last year.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, when you see all these people reuniting with families and having their experiences, going to prom. All of these things that are being made possible because, now that we have the vaccines, it really warms my heart. Just for me being at work and not breaking out into a sweat when I have to go see a patient with COVID. That makes a huge difference for me.
Like in level A.
Right. Yeah. Like, just Like, I mean, I was afraid, like, for anything on me to touch. Like, I went into a room, like, even right after I got vaccinated, and 3 people in the room had, like, the whole family. I don't know what. Well, in our hospital, we allowed 2 parents. For a while, it was just 1 parent with a child, but then they went back to 2 parents with a child. So I went into the room, and it was both parents that had COVID and the child that had COVID. And I'm like, well, did you have to let them all in here? Like,
Right.
why did they
Oh
have
my
to be
God.
here? And so I had just gotten vaccinated. So I was like, I don't know how protected I am. And I was like, I just couldn't wait to get out the room. I mean, I'm in this small room with these 3 people with COVID.
Mm.
Like, people don't understand how, because yes, you can. And I know that was one of your questions. So yes, you can still get it. The whole point is, yes, in none of the studies did anyone die after getting the vaccine, which is excellent. So you may still get it. As we know, people have breakthrough infections, but you don't have severe disease, you don't die. So that's, a relief. So you may get it, but you won't be in the hospital with a severe illness or die from it. But I still don't want to get it. And we know there's strains out there. We don't know how protective they are from, some of these crazy strains. So, I'm still really careful.
Yeah.
I don't want people to just go buck wild and think that, they can just do whatever they want and not, if, still take some precautions, still wash your hands, hand sanitizers, don't be around people that are sick without wearing a mask, things like that. So
have they been talking, in your world, have they been talking about boosters yet?
right. So all 3 vaccines are approved in the US. They're working on boosters right now. So Pfizer, Moderna, and J&J. So they're studying 2 things. They're keeping track to see how long immunity lasts. They know for sure they released that it lasts at least 6 months. I think most of them believe that it'll last for a year at least, the vaccines. So they're keeping track of that, but they're also looking to see whether they'll need boosters for the different strains that are out there. So I think they're preparing for both things. If they start to see like there's a strain that's taking over and causing more severe disease or hospitalizations or deaths, then they may need to do boosters for that. If they start to see that immunity is waning, not just in the lab, but in real life, testing people's antibodies, then they may decide to do immunity for that. So, you read the papers and there's some scientists are like, oh, we definitely should do one by a year. And then some are like, no, we think immunity will last longer than the year. So I think they just have to just keep checking people's levels to see, but they all are working on it. The interesting thing is like the newer vaccines that are being developed, like they'll be more up to date than the older vaccines. So the question is always like, well, do you mix and match the vaccine? So like the newer vaccines, do you just use that as a booster? But I think money-wise, like Pfizer and Moderna, they're going to want you to use their vaccine, their their booster as their vaccine. So I think all 3 of them are working on it just in case they start to see a new strain, bump up in the population, then they'll be prepared to give a booster for that. And for me, I'm like, shoot me up. If I need if I need a booster to protect me against something else that pops up, or if they start to see the immunity waning in the population, I'm fine with that. So yeah, they're definitely working on them.
What's interesting, what I like that's happening now, I'm going to Belize in July.
Oh, fun!
For my birthday, and Belize, when I booked, Belize said you have to do, they were doing the 72 to 96 hour tests, and then re-entry, we have to do tests, COVID tests, but they've changed since I booked to go, if you're vaccinated, you don't have
to. My colleague just went.
To show your vaccination card. So the travel industry is now, the tourism industry is now picking up. If you're vaccinated, you don't have to do A, you may have to do B, that type.
Exactly. And I was telling people, I was telling people stuff like this for months ago, and they're like, nope, that won't happen because, you can still have it and spread it and carry it. And countries are going to do that. I said, it will be proven that if you're vaccinated, there's such a small chance that you're going to be carrying it and spreading it to other people. And yeah, I mean, I think Iceland, the Seychelles, and there's another country in Europe where like the first ones that said if you were vaccinated, come on in. Like you don't have to get tested. You don't have to quarantine. You can just pop on in if you're vaccinated. And I was like, there's going to be a trend of that, you know. And plus, people want tourism dollars back, you know. You know,
U.S. to get their stuff together and get back to traveling and spending U.S. dollars.
Yes,
it's the bottom. They need the U.S. dollar. So, and plus for the airline industry, I could really see you're on a tin can for 3. I mean, literally for 3 hours. They got to protect their workers for one.
Yes.
So I won't be surprised if the airlines say, "Hey, if you're not vaccinated, we need you to take extra steps to assure that you're not going to."
And the cruise industry. I knew that. Yeah. I mean, look at those cruise ships that were stuck out there from, oh my gosh. I said, there is no way people they're going to cruise again without requiring vaccinations. I mean, and that's exactly what's coming down the pipe now. I mean, what I think it's Norwegian was saying, because, you know, in Florida, that silly governor who's like, no. Yeah. People shouldn't have to show that they're vaccinated or not vaccinated. I'm not doing that, blah, blah, blah. And that cruise line is like, we are going to require people to show they're vaccinated to get on our ship. And so if we can't do that in Florida, we may have to move our ships out of Florida, which would cost them tons of money if cruise ships starts leaving the ports in Florida. I'm like, what cruise line is going to want to take the chance of another COVID outbreak on their ship?
Exactly. And you know, those European flagships especially are going to be like, okay, we got to we can go into New York. We don't have no problem. We got to come all the way down to Florida.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it makes no sense. You cannot be trapped out there. And we, you know, if you've been on a cruise, you know how nasty it is anyway. Like it's too easy to spread stuff on a cruise ship. Like,
you ain't got
I've never been on a cruise. How nasty is it?
Haven't, Leslie?
It's recycled air. It's just the same air is circulating through all of the cabins. It's not like, and
I had a balcony. Yeah, I wasn't messing with them.
Yeah, but most of the ones, especially if you have like an inside cabin, and the even the ones that just have an outside cabin and you don't have a balcony, that's not opening up. So where's the air coming from? It's just going.
And you touch everything. Everybody touches the same thing. So the buffets, it's like you're all touching everything. The balcony, you're walking down the stairs. Everyone's touching everything. You're in the theaters together, sitting there. Casino. I mean, it's just everyone's touching. You're like in the incubator. Like everybody's touching the same thing, touching the buffet. I mean, there's just no way. And that's why I like the Norwalk virus, like where you had all those outbreaks before COVID. They had all those outbreaks before, anything that like happens on the ship, like there's almost impossible to keep it to just 1 or 2 people. That's why they quarantine people in their room when someone gets sick and tape down the door. I mean, you just can't, there's just, so I'm curious to see once they start going back out. I am hopeful because, they did that test cruise where everyone was vaccinated, but they let people off the ship. No, they weren't vaccinated. They had that's why I think they're requiring vaccinations now, because they did a test cruise where people got tested. So they got tested like a couple of days before. They got tested before they got on the ship, but then they like let them off during the cruise. So they let them off during the cruise, but they were like, oh, we watched them. They only went. And then they got back on the ship. And then, of course, it was like there was an outbreak. There was a COVID outbreak. And I was like,
wow.
The interesting thing is I wonder if they're going to change some of their, like the dining practices.
Right.
Will the buffet go away? Because that's the thing. Now they still won't do buffets in restaurants. Will they?
Right. I think they should. I was on a ship right after they had one of those viral outbreaks, and what they did do was like the staff had to do all of that for you. You couldn't even get your own drinks. Like they had staff members in gloves that were doing like the fountain drinks for you. So like you're right, they may have to get rid of that kind of stuff or have like staff members serve you all of that instead of like, because the kids go up there and they're handling all of that.
I think they should do that anyway, because some of these folks is nasty. I don't think the public should handle okay, let's go. And they sitting over there, you see people tasting stuff, putting it.
No. And I love to cruise, but I am quite aware of how nasty all that can get. I mean, yeah.
The Whole Foods buffet no longer, they opened their buffet back,
right,
but
mine here
they
too.
have staff serving, and they got like a little rope off, and the staff is like this. It looks like an assembly line.
Well, guess what they have here? So, because I said Atlanta been open for like a year. So our Whole Foods finally, they have it open now where they have, and hopefully when I first went back, when they had it open, the guy was like, ma'am, you have to put on the gloves. They have hand sanitizer and they have plastic gloves at the buffet. So you're supposed to put the hand sanitizer on and then put the plastic gloves on, and you're allowed to use the buffet again.
You serve yourself.
And serve yourself.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully, I mean, they had people watching because I saw the sanitizer. I didn't see the plastic gloves. And he was like, ma'am, you have to put the gloves on. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even see it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah. But let me tell you, our numbers are down. Our numbers.
Good.
But we've had the vaccine here for 16 and over with like mass vaccination sites for months in Atlanta.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that's why, because of course you guys have seen the pictures. People have been wilding out, clubs open, strip clubs, everything.
Yes.
But we have had like stadiums open with vaccination sites for 16 and above for months now. So I'm curious, actually, I was going to look that up after I saw in the news that our numbers were down. I wanted to see what our vaccination rates were in the area, because it's got to be high, I'm assuming, because even in my hospital, the last time I saw a COVID patient was about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's been great. So
knock on wood.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
So Nadeen, you wrote a travel checklist. I'm sure.
Yes.
I think you were talking about traveling with COVID during the pandemic way back in March. So I'm sure that's drastically changed now.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
So yes, I just wrote one basically because just like we were just talking about, things definitely change just between March and now, obviously. So I decided to do, it's like before, during, and after your travel. So the number one thing on the checklist is doing your research. People really have to research, because depending on where you're going, whether it's domestic or international, every country has different rules that you should follow. And so the checklist is basically prior to traveling, during your travels, and after your travels, and it covers what you need to do in terms of the researching the destination, things that you should pack, whether you need to get certain vaccinations, not just COVID, honestly, whether you need to get tested, because as we were talking about, some countries still will require you to get tested for COVID prior to going. Some require you to get tested when you get there. And then for the US, I'm waiting for them to get rid of that for vaccinated Americans. I'm like, but you still have to get tested prior to coming back into the US. So I kind of go over that, and I share links that helpful links for you to check to see what you need to do. I also share links in terms of which countries are open for US travelers right now. I also, like I said, go over just like which vaccinations for which countries in general. What's also helpful, I think, is like the different levels, because like for the US, there's like level 4 is like the highest level. Like if you're traveling in terms of COVID, crime, things like that, the US State Department will have level 1 to level 4, level 1 being the safest, level 4 being the most concerning. Like I was just reading, for instance, Tokyo is a level 4. They're recommending US citizens not travel to Tokyo for the Olympics, right? For the Olympics, because they've had a really high jump in COVID cases. Their vaccination rates have not been very good in Japan. And
Wow.
so Japan, Tokyo is at a level 4. So so it's really good to check those levels before you're traveling to different countries, just to have a good idea. And then I go through things that you should pack. I go through some of the basic stuff that was on a previous travel list of mine, registering for STEP, which is another State Department site that you go to. So you'll be aware of anything that's happening in the country where you're vacationing. So if there's like any kind of emergency in that travel, the State Department knows that you're in that country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the like things to do before, and then just things that you should pack. Having health travel insurance, that's very important. So it should also always include medical evacuation. People forget to get that with travel insurance, especially now. It's important if you get sick, then you want to be able to come back to the US. And
Uh,
yes, you do not want to be left with that expense. The other thing that people sometimes don't think about right now is when you get tested in the country that you're vacationing in, what if you test positive and you can't get on your flight back to the US? So you want to make sure that wherever you're going to or wherever you're staying, the resort, a lot of places will offer you like their insurance plan, or they'll offer you discounted stays if you have to stay like the extra 10, 14 days or whatever in that country until you can fly back to the US. And people don't consider that, but I've heard several and read about several people who have tested positive. Because even again, if you're vaccinated, there's still a chance that you can catch it, still a chance that you can test positive. So, and obviously, if you're not vaccinated, there's even a higher chance. So, you want to consider that if you're flying out of the country, again, you have to test right now to come back into the US. So, just consider that you could test positive. So, I kind of go over all of that. And then when you're traveling, whether it's domestic or international, I go over ways to stay healthy while you're traveling. So, it's still important to wear a mask if you're going to be in a crowded environment. If you're around anyone that's sick, get away from them. Smaller groups is better than larger groups. It's always better to travel with people that are already in your circle. So it's better to travel with people that you already are around, like your family, people that you work with, kind of like your own pod. Outdoor activities are safer than indoor activities. Outdoor dining is safer than indoor dining. So things like that. Obviously, like I said, washing your hands frequently, using hand sanitizer, always having that with you while you're traveling. Always check too, like whether it's Airbnb or hotels, tour operators, what kind of guidelines do they have on their site? What kind of cleaning practices are they doing? Are they following? If they don't even have that information on their website, I wouldn't use them or stay there. I mean, anybody by now that doesn't even have any COVID alert precautions on their website, it's not a good sign. Not a good sign. And so I would check that for while you're traveling and then coming back. So, right now the US has different guidelines for people who are vaccinated and not vaccinated. So if you're vaccinated, you no longer have to quarantine if you come back healthy, right? So if you come back healthy, you no longer have to quarantine. If you're unvaccinated, there's a whole other separate rules that you should quarantine, you should get tested. So again, yay for people vaccinated. So you want to go to the CDC and kind of follow those recommendations when you get back. Obviously, if you come back and you're sick, you need to quarantine. Anybody that you were around should quarantine with you, and you should get tested at 3 to 5 days after returning. And so I kind of go over all of those things. So if you sign up for my blog, my newsletter, The Sophisticated Life, you'll get like this 3-page, I think it's 3 to 4 pages of a PDF that you can download and print and just kind of check off all those things so you can be safe while you're traveling.
Excellent.
That's great.
Thank you. I try.
The insurance, I'm not one to really ever buy insurance because I got a rider on my Blue Cross Blue Shield to be medical out of the Caribbean to my I need to be, because what you don't want to do is go to certain hospitals in certain countries. Like I roll a dice on that 45 hour to the closest US point. But I digress. There was a young lady, and I was sitting here trying to think of where she was, didn't have the insurance, and a scam was being ran. They said she tested positive. had to go stay get another test, which they had upcharged the test, stay there for an extra amount of days at $300 to $500 per night. It was a nightmare for this young lady. And so that initial test, then what they're thinking with the article I read, that they gave her it was either a false positive and didn't retest her with that one, made her go through the protocols that they had in place for people who actually tested positive. And then they did the full PCR test after she had stayed there the extra 3 nights.
Get the extra money.
Upcharged for the PCR test too.
I believe it. I believe there's scams like that. And that's one of the reasons I've just been patiently waiting for them to get rid of that, test to come back into the US, because I don't know, like I've been a little bit nervous about the testing to come back in, because exactly. I haven't traveled a lot yet, but I've just been a little bit nervous. The only places my family's from Jamaica. So I wanted to go to Jamaica. And I know a lot of the resorts there do the tests. And I should trust my own country. But I'm just like, I don't know. With my luck, I'll test positive.
Is doing a good. I went to Jamaica in October.
Oh, nice.
And I went in March.
Look at you.
Let me tell you, the protocols that they have in place were like, oh, okay, y'all making the US look like a third world country, because Jamaica had their stuff together.
I have heard. That's awesome.
That's another whole podcast. But like you said, the hotel, I stay at a small boutique resort in Negril, and they have partnered with a company who does testing for them, and they're right across the street from the hotel on the hotel property, which is, hotel has property on the east side. But and if you stay a certain amount of days, like you stay 4 days or more, then it's free.
Love it. Yeah, my stepson was just there for 10 days. He graduated from college, went there for 10 days. My other friend is there now. I think too it's because of my job, because I'm like, if anything were to go wrong and I had to call my hospital and be like, I'm stuck in Jamaica for an additional 10, 14 days. They actually had a policy for a while that we couldn't leave the country.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm just like, why can't they get rid of that testing rule? But before the end of the year, I'm sure I'll get down there. But I'm really proud. I've heard, like you said, like great feedback from people who have gone there. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so proud. So proud. I need the food. I need to go get a fix on my food.
Girl, yes, indeed.
Yeah, yes, that more than anything, I need a fix on the food. So yeah, I'm like, look at everybody else going down there living their best life. And me and my husband are sitting here like, but we're going to California, which is also my happy place. And I have not been there in over a year. We're going there in 2 weeks. So I'm thrilled. Yeah. So that to me is that's amazing in itself, to just be able to get back out there.
Yeah. What part of Cali are you going to?
So we're going to Los Angeles for like 4 days. And then actually, you asked about, we're talking about wine regions. I'm going to Paso Robles for 3 days, and I've never been there. So that's been on my bucket list. So I'm really, really excited to head up there. So we're going to drive up there from LA. Yep. So
that sounds so fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. We've only been this year. I went to Asheville a month ago, and other than that, we went to Miami for my birthday in January, and that's been it. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. You ran more risk going to damn Miami.
Right. Oh my God. And you know what's so funny? We were it was my birthday. And so we pretty much like just stayed around the hotel and like lounged at the pool and on the beach. But we went to one restaurant that was ridiculous. Like we just ended up like telling the guy to pack up the food and like go. Because at the time, my husband wasn't vaccinated yet. I could not believe these people. Like it was like so packed in there that there was like a line at the hostess stand, people trying to just like get their table. I was like, how could they even just why would the restaurant let this many people? It was like a club. it was a restaurant, but it was like performing like a club, like, and it was January. It wasn't even like post-vaccine.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. But other than that, like, we actually had a pretty good experience at the hotel and on the beach and stuff like that. But then, yeah, I saw what happened at spring break, and I was like, oh, thank God it was not like that when we were there in January. So, but yeah, we're definitely ready for a real vacation and ready to start traveling again. Definitely excited.
Yeah, I'm ready to get back to Europe and Southeast Asia. And Bali still haven't opened up for.
Oh, I know. Asia is like,
just like, hold on, we got to get our stuff together. Hold on.
Like I said before, I read that article. I just posted it about Japan. Because they're having the Olympics. I had no idea that they weren't vaccinated. I guess they're opening up vaccination centers in Tokyo and Osaka, like, to try and get like people vaccinated, like, in a rush. But there's all these officials and doctors that have signed petitions and letters saying they don't even think the Olympics should happen because their case numbers are so high.
Wow.
I was like, what? How are they not prepared? It's not that far. How are they not prepared for it yet? Like, I had no idea that was the case.
Me either. I had no idea it was that bad. And Japan is supposed to be progressive.
That's exactly what I thought. I am literally in shock. I'm like, because I think a lot of people like had bought tickets like to go last year and are planning to go this year. So yeah, that's really surprising to me.
Like they didn't have time to prepare. It's not like on them and they're like, "Ooh, we have to deal with COVID now,"
Right. Yeah, I guess just the vaccinations. I thought, because like we were just saying, Japan seems so progressive. I just assumed their vaccination rates were pretty high, but they're saying it's not. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So hopefully they can speed that up a little bit. But yeah, just like trying to get back to Europe and all of that is just, yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I even had my doubts even when the vaccines were coming out. I didn't think that it would be that much improved by now. I thought maybe by fall, I wasn't expecting things to be like this much better by May.
I agree.
Yeah.
Nadeen, Dr. N. Call you Dr. N.
I like it.
Well, I did. I thought so because just from the tourism perspective, people are clamoring to get out their house and they're clamoring to get rid of the mask. And so I think anything that they can do to do both of them, they're going to vaccine.
Yeah, I was looking at it from a different standpoint when this thing first really hit. So you were mentioning about around March 7th, how the numbers were. And then by March 13th, my office was like, take your computer home. That was a Friday. I haven't been back in office since then. But when you look at the studies from the Spanish flu, it took 2 full years.
Right.
2 full years. So I had already put in my mind 2022.
That was me. From
a scientific standpoint, that's the only thing that makes it. And then when I started hearing those people who used to be on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and over there on the Capitol, those people that, you don't have to wear this, you don't have to. I was like, these jokers gonna keep us here to 2023. Yes! They need to get their stuff together. This is no joke. Just buckle down. Let's get through at a minimum these 2 years, and then we'll be good to go.
That's right. Yeah. I was telling people that. I remember in interviews that I didn't think like travel to Europe or Asia. I was thinking same thing, 2022. Like even with the vaccines coming out December, January, I was like, let's give it a year. Let's try and vaccinate as many people as we can in 2021. By the fall, most people will be vaccinated by then, hopefully. Like, I couldn't have imagined like summer travel to Europe this year. Like that, I didn't think the numbers would be down enough or enough people would be vaccinated. But then I read today, like there's still poor Canada. Like
They are
yes, they're still pushing back the opening the border. I said, oh my gosh, like, so I mean, again, we are so privileged in the United States. You know, we're just so it just shows how privileged we are.
I have a girlfriend who lives in northern Canada. It's cold. It's real cold up there. I can't think. It's north of Montreal. It's I forgot the.
Oh Lord!
But she just got her first shot.
Yeah.
Last week. They're not giving the second shots until months later.
Like 3 months.
Until August.
Yes.
What?
I know.
Yes.
They're like, they don't have enough.
Did you type that correctly? She said, yeah, Mom, I just got my first. And she's French Canadian, literally. And she's like, yeah, right. My husband had his 2 months ago. He's not getting his until July. I was like, is this even correct? I was like,
yeah. They don't have it. Yeah, they didn't have, it's like universal health care, and they didn't buy enough or have enough money to buy enough to give it like at our schedule. Yeah. And my physician groups, all the Canadian physicians are like, well, you don't have to, because the study shows you have this much protection after the first dose, which is true. Especially again, like in the real life studies, when they look at how much protection you have really great, especially people who've had COVID. So like if you've had COVID and you probably only need one shot of the vaccines if you've had COVID, because you get so much protection just from the natural disease that one vaccine shot like just gives you that extra boost. But for people who have never had the disease and you're just completely unvaccinated, yes, you do get probably like 70-80%, protection. And then after the second one, you get like up to the 90%. And I'm like, well, the studies were for the 2. And I want my 2 based on how the studies went, but the Canadian physicians are like, no, if you look at these studies, it's okay. And that's fine. But the point is, they're not doing it because of that. They're doing it because they didn't have the money, and they weren't able to buy from the pharmaceutical companies enough vaccines to give it on that schedule. Wow. And it's unfortunate, but at least, and their whole philosophy, which I understand it, it's better to give one to everybody and at least get the whole population to have one, but instead of like half the population being vaccinated. So that's how they decided to do it. But yeah, when I see my Canadian friends post that they're getting the first shot, and I was like, wow.
I'm going to reread her. I was like, nah, you're getting it in 3 weeks.
Think about it. We have 12-year-olds getting it.
Right.
Now you think about that. Their adults are getting their first dose, and we have 12-year-olds getting it. Exactly. I mean, when you just think about it that way, you're like, oh my gosh, we're so privileged. Like,
oh, very much so. That's why I love my blue passport. Now that we got rid of the who, I'm back to this says the United States of America.
It's true though. It is true. I mean, I'm like, man, I see my friends bringing their 12-year-olds to get their shots, and I'm like, wow, that's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So yeah, we can't complain about that at all. Cannot complain about that.
By no means. What?
So ladies, this part of our show, just some random quick questions that we'll ask. Okay, this should be fun. All right. So Nadeen, we have been giving ourselves pools of money.
Ooh.
So we are up to $17,000. So the question is, if you received an extra $17,000, what would you do with it?
Well, I hope I could afford to rent a yacht. I'm not sure how much a yacht costs, actually. But if I could afford to rent a yacht, I would do so, and I would sail around the Mediterranean for at least a week or 2. At least. That's what my husband and I got engaged in Monaco, and we were supposed to.
Y'all have another engagement party or weddings, whatever. I'm coming. I'm sorry.
Well, we were on a cruise, and he proposed on our second dating anniversary there. And we were supposed to go back there for our 5-year wedding anniversary last September. And of course, with COVID, we didn't get to. So that's what I would like to do, for us to be able to rent a yacht and go sailing around the Mediterranean for at least a week. That's what I would do. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Sarita, can you bust her bubble and tell her how much below deck, they give tips 17?
Yeah, that's enough for a tip.
I can't afford that. I told you I didn't know how much yachts cost.
And I'm like,
oh, that's the tip, girl. That's
okay,
not,
so
yeah, and it's not even a good tip. It's not even a good tip.
Okay, well, can I get first class tickets to Monaco?
Yeah.
Can she get that? Okay.
Okay. First class tickets, non-stop to Monaco. Well, I'll take that.
Well, you'd have to fly into France and drive
over. Okay,
yeah.
I'll take that.
You'll be flying into Nice and drive.
That's right. Okay. If I can take that, I'll take it.
We don't want to crush your dream, but
just bust my bubble. Bust my bubble. It's all right. It's all right.
But you have to watch Below Deck, girl. That thing is funny.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. It's about yachts and, different, what happens with the crew. It talks about the cruise journey.
Mm-hmm.
And reason only Sarita was the one that mentioned it. I was like, what is this trash?
Below Deck.
Watching, right?
Yeah.
So I watched it, and when that one group of guests got off, and the what do they call them? The lead or the principal guest gave the captain an envelope full of cash.
Was that with the tip?
And he's like, each crew member got like $3,000. It was just ridiculous money.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. All right. Well, I'll start saving. I'll start saving.
Okay, Glennis, what you doing with your 17K?
I'm still working and fixing up stuff in the house. Now I want to do what do you call them? A custom closet. Because with the other one I did the deck. So now I want to do a custom closet. That's what I want to
do.
Okay, that's really nice.
And do 3 of these closets. So I have small closets in the other rooms, but master is a big one. So I think 17 will cover a couple of closets.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah. Leslie, what about you?
I think I will build me a backyard oasis.
Oh,
I love that.
Nice. Are you guys all in DC?
No,
I'm in there.
I'm in DC.
Wait, say that again, Leslie?
I'm in Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay, nice.
Yeah, I'm in DC.
I miss DC. You guys know I used to live in. Well, I lived in Arlington for 8 years.
Oh, you did? Oh, nice.
In Pentagon City area. Yeah.
Oh,
very, very nice.
Yeah, I miss it a lot.
I notice it is changing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I am sure.
Amazon is coming in over there. It's just.
Oh, I forgot about that. Wow, it's gonna be crowded.
It's already crowded.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
I don't think the highway infrastructure is ready for all those new people or the local.
They're literally building condos on the highway.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. They tore down that Residence Inn that was in Crystal City that you could see.
Oh, I exactly know. I know where that one. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. I completely forgot Amazon was coming there. Huh. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, so my 17K. Yeah, I'm starting to get that itch again. So I would like to go back to Greece first class.
Oh yeah. I love Greece.
Yeah, and I would spend a lot of my time in Santorini. Just the whole time.
Yeah.
Such
so
a
beautiful
island. I would live. So I want to go there.
My husband's never been. I've only been like once, and that was like 2010, and he's never been. And Delta now flies nonstop from Atlanta. So it's like, that's
okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's definitely moved up my list again since I can fly. I'm all about nonstop. So yeah. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
All right. Next question. What is the next wine region you want to visit?
Well, I'm going to Paso, so that's my next wine region in June. Internationally, I have never been to South America.
Oh, me either.
Yeah, I have not. So I would really, really love to visit some of the wine regions there. Yeah, so that would probably be my next move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Glennis?
I think I would have to agree. I want to do some South American regions as well.
Yeah.
Because I've never been to South America. So
yeah.
And that would check off my continents as I check off my continents.
Look at you. Look at you. I mean.
Kill two birds with one stone. I'm sorry, Leslie.
Oh, no. I want to do South Africa.
Oh, yeah. That was my answer.
Yeah. I love. I've just been to like Stellenbosch, but it was amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Just drank myself. Did you drink some of the brandies? See, I
didn't.
Girl, I almost killed myself. I was drinking this. I was like, oh, okay, let me try these brandies. Slow down, little girl. Because this was really getting to know all about wines. You know, my wine. So that was 2005, 2007. I can't remember. I was like, oh, this man is great. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I will have to try some of that next time. My husband, he has his company. They have like a joint venture like with South Africa. So he's been like 4 or 5 times. I've been twice, and we stay for like 2 weeks at a time. We might go by the end of the year. So it's like I have like this special love connection with South Africa. I would love to move there. He's had colleagues who's had like assignments there, so they stay for like 6 months at a time. So I'm always asking him like, why can't we move there? And they come, like his colleagues come over here, and like so they have like this joint thing where he goes, they go. And so that would be like, he has 2 sons. One just graduated college. The other one is in college. So that probably won't happen in the next 2 years. But I'm hoping at some point, it's a place, it's like one of the few places that I've been to, traveled to, that I could live. Like I could totally live in South Africa.
I said the same thing, especially in Cape Town.
Yeah, it's so funny because I absolutely love Cape Town for the beauty. And of course I could live there because it's stunning. But I really like the heart, like of Johannesburg. Like I feel like, and I'm a city girl, so I mean, it has some drawbacks, obviously, Johannesburg, but but I think because I'm a city girl and it has like the Black culture, and it's if I could do both, you know what I mean? I would. Yeah, it's like the best of both worlds, being able to go.
I thought you were gonna get real deep and say Swaziland or up in the I was gonna be like, okay, Doc. Okay, Doc. That's what I was gonna.
No.
I'll come visit and I'll leave.
Like way from a distance. Like,
oh my God.
It's a nice place to visit. You can do safari, you know, get
with
the natives and whatever. But yeah, I was like,
no, like I said, I'm a city girl. Yeah, I'm totally a city girl.
One of the Swazi King's wives. He got I was like, how many wives this man? You got to be.
No, that is not me. You crazy. No. Because they had built like right after the first time I went, they built like a brand new children's hospital in Johannesburg. I'm like, I could work here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I could work here, vacation in Cape Town. Like, this could be my life.
Yeah, that's true. It is. The city of Joburg, you know, it's like any other big city. You know, you got good parts and you got the parts that, you know, you're like, okay, yeah, I'll go by. I could take my tail home if I have to.
That's exactly right. And we like hang out because, you know, like I said, he's there for work. So we like stay with like the locals, you know, and they'll tell you, like, I've been there and I'm started walking down a street. They're like, where are you going? Like I'm like, I'm gonna just go down to the market. No, you're not walking, you're not going down that street, come back this way. So they'll like tell us. And then there's other times I'm like, I've been with like other like female coworkers of his, and we're like, oh, we're gonna hop in the Uber and go. And they're like, okay. So they'll like tell us where is like okay and not okay. Like we've always stayed in Melrose Arch. And so we've hopped in, Ubers from there and been fine. And like I said, there's other times they'll be like, no, we're not going there. So yeah.
So this will be our last question. This has been such a fun conversation. So last question. Would you ever be a winemaker?
Oh boy. If I was independently wealthy, I would. And I will say, I went on a press trip to Bordeaux and the Moselle back in 2019 during harvest. And it was like literally life-changing for me. I mean, oh my gosh, it was just so amazing to like literally be out there in the fields and like learn the process. And I have never been somebody who thought, like, my friends will always be like, when they see another Black person or celebrity with a wine, they're like, Nadeen, why don't you have your own wine? Why don't you have your own wine label? And because it seems like everybody now has their own wine label. Like that's never been a draw to me. Like, I've never felt like I needed to have my own wine label. But after that experience, I'm really into the viticulture. Like, I really am into the whole terroir, like winemaking, and just how the varietals are different from country to country. And yeah, I would be like one of those people who like to get dirty with it and like really be out there from the beginning to the end of the whole process, and so I think I would like to have like a whole like estate and just be out there making wine. And again, not just to sell it and the marketing and all that. I think I would need somebody else to do all that, but I would just enjoy the process of it. I just find it really, 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 really interesting. And so for that, I would say, yes. I tease my husband because he just started drinking wine since we've been together. He was more like a beer drinker, and he actually loves scotch. So he has bought like the little barrel, not little, he has like a barrel, and he actually makes his own scotch. So he like pours the stuff in, and then he lets it sit in there, and then he like makes his own bottles of scotch. And so I was like, oh, that's what we can do in retirement. Let's like move out to California, and I'll have my winery, and you'll make your scotch, and we'll do that. And so I always have like that dream that like, we'll somehow inherit some money or something, and that's what we'll do in our retirement, and really just for pleasure, not to be like make money from it, like I said. So yeah, it's become a real interest of mine.
That's cool. Glennis.
Yeah.
Well, let me put it like this. I don't like farming. I would love to be a majority investor who could show up and be like, oh, thanks. Oh, thank you, y'all. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and could do it when I want to go out and enjoy getting dusty if I wanted. So I totally agree with Doc. If I was independently wealthy or could be the majority investor, I would, go out there and oversee and just say, well, let me taste this, and, that will work. Yeah, that's the short answer.
Gotcha.
But I'm not going to be out in no field getting dusty.
You're not picking the grapes?
No, ma'am. I will pick one or two to make sure. Have you guys seen like some of those Hallmark love stories, and a couple of them, they have some of the stories about these wine families, and
yeah.
Oh, they're out there real cute, might test to make sure the level of the grape, but the sugar levels is okay. That would be me with that, that one little parent. Oh, let me see, check the brick levels, blah blah, and then go back inside. Handle the Airbnb, the bed and breakfast of it all.
The bed and breakfast part is nice though.
Yeah,
that part I could do. Long as
I was doing like the punch down. like when I was there for harvest. I mean, it was hard work.
No, it's backbreaking work. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why you do it 1 or 2 to say you've done it, and then you give it back to the professionals who like to.
Leslie, what about you?
No, thank you.
She had the short and sweet answer.
Yeah.
It's just to me, it would be anxiety
All the time.
all the time. Like, oh my God, it's raining. Oh, it's right here, harvest. Oh my, the deer. What do you mean the deer ate like a whole acre of grapes?
Yeah.
To
the
me,
smoke. Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I mean, I like if I was doing it for, like you said, a hobby, where maybe I take 6-8 weeks off and do that. But if that was like my livelihood, oh my God, I would be drinking because it's one thing after the other. Yeah.
Yeah. My answer is also no, but I feel like I could be another Glennis. I could be a primary investor, and I can help, on occasion, but just I think I've working at a winery for as long as I did. I know too much. I was like, you gotta get up and do what? You what? So what? Your neighbor is using pesticides, so that's now affecting the crop. What? It's too much. It's too much. So too many things to worry about, like Leslie said. So I'm gonna go with no, but I will help. I will help.
Yeah.
Love it.
Nadeen, Dr. N, like Glennis calls you. This was fantastic. This was so great.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy you guys invited me back. It was fun.
Yeah. Before you go, tell everybody where they can follow you.
Yes. So again, my blog is The Sophisticated Life, and you can find me at thesophisticatedlife.com. On Instagram, I am The Sophist Life. So just kind of shortened. On Instagram and Twitter, it's the same, The Sophist Life. And it's actually the same on Pinterest. On Facebook, I am The Sophisticated Life. So that's pretty easy on Facebook. So,
well, thank you very much, and enjoy your summer and all your travels.
Well, thank you, ladies. Have a good night. I'm going to get ready for my champagne and fried chicken.
Yes, enjoy.
I thought you were going to ride the Peloton first.
Oh, girl, that ain't happening. Look what time it is. That's not happening.
She remembered that.
Look, calling you out. Well, that is our show, everybody. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Dr. Nadeen White. As always, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Swirl Sweet. And you can follow us individually, myself at Vine Me Up, Leslie at Vino 301 and The Wine Concierge, Tanisha at Girl Meets Glass, and Glennis at Vino Noir. Stay safe. Cheers.